Welcome to the Jamal Thomas Morning Show. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is indeed my show. This mic is a little bit too close to me right now. I hope you guys are doing all right this morning. It is an early, bright, well, okay, I don't know if it's bright outside, but it is an early morning, a Wednesday. I hope you guys are doing all right this Wednesday, that you're safe, sound, wherever you are. I appreciate that you're listening to this voice this early in the morning. I always say I am a bit shocked that people are doing and listening to politics um, this early in the morning. But I guess I'm doing politics this early in the morning. And if I'm doing politics this early in the morning, I'm not the only one who's interested in it. I want to give a shout out to the chat, everybody that is here this early in the morning. I see Diane Thomas, Mama Thomas is here, Matthew, Skeptical Jerk, Rami, Alexander Black, Jimmy, all of you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. A lot of us, and I'm going to start here, a lot of us have been very interested in the ending of the Ukraine war. Many of us who have been watching this have realized A, it shouldn't have happened. B, it's a catastrophe. C, hundreds of thousands. I know some people use a million number. I don't know if it's a million. Every month it goes up by 500,000. I'm going to say 600,000 dead Ukrainians, hundreds of thousands of broken, wounded, mangled human beings in a war that never needed to take place, and in a war that is effectively lost. When Trump came in, there was this belief that the Trump administration, at the very least, vocally said that they were going to end the war. And to Trump's credit, made various moves seemingly in that direction. Now, I am not going to be a nitpicker on this. I'm going to wait to see how events unfold. Yesterday, there was a meeting between the United States and Ukraine. I asked, what is the point of this meeting? The reason why I asked, what is the point of this meeting, is because between Russia and the United States, there were very little diplomatic relations, at the very least, no overt diplomatic relations. Hell, we didn't even have an ambassador. And so a relationship or meeting between Russia and the US, well, that makes sense. You are reconnecting. You are coming up with the terms in which you will negotiate further and the terms in which Putin and Trump would at some point, ideally, meet and hammer out some kind of agreement. Now, Russia has said, we're not for ceasefires. We've done this. We're not doing that again. There will be no Minsk 3. Any agreement that is made will be an overarching agreement to end it all. We are in it to create a new security architecture of Europe. That's what we want. Nothing else is suitable to those aims. Part of the reason to that is we've invested blood and treasure, meaning there have been 100, maybe 200,000 Russians that have been killed in this war. And even if we're saying, okay, 600, 700, 800,000 dead Ukrainians, okay, so what? From the Russian point of view, we have still lost a large number of people in order to effect our will in regards to the military campaign. We're not for Minsk 3, we're not for a ceasefire, we are for into this war, full stop. And to make that clear, why would we want a ceasefire when we are in a situation where A, we are liberating Kursk. Kursk is a route. It's a route. I can show you videos of dead Ukrainians laying on the battlefield where they have been fundamentally destroyed. Within a few days, Kursk will be fully liberated. Now, I know Syrskyi, Ukrainian commander, is putting out these farcical comments of, we're repositioning and we're still under control. We're not being surrounded. That is like Alice in Wonderland. It is a fantasy written by a child. The reality on the ground is they are being routed. And in a couple of days, what I'm saying will be validated when Ukraine is pushed out of Kursk entirely or everybody in there dies. That is brutal, but it is true. So why would the military that is moving relentlessly westward want a ceasefire? What is in it for them? Why would they do that? They are winning on the battlefield. Ukrainian people are deserting. Many are being captured. The rest are being killed. That is the situation on the ground. So from the Russian point of view, like Captain America would say, we can do this all day. We can do this all week. We can do this for the next year. Your military will collapse. It is clear your military will collapse. When you've gotten to the point where you're bringing in the Nazi youth to your military, something has gone fundamentally wrong. So, from the Russian point of view, why on earth will we accept a ceasefire? Your people are going to die. You will either die or surrender. There is no two ways about it. That's the Russian point of view. Don't take my word for it. Putin has said effectively the same thing in 2024. And this has been reinvigorated by statements coming out of Russia after this meeting. Trump sends his people, Rubio, Waltz, Witkoff, to have meetings with Ukrainians. And again, this is an odd meeting. There are proxies. We talk to them all the time. We can pick up the phone and call Zelensky any day of the week, twice on Sundays, and tell him what we want. So it is a bit weird that we decide to have this formal delegation with the Ukrainians. But whatever. In Jeddah, we have this formal delegation. We go, they talk. They talk for several hours. Waltz and Rubio comes out of the meeting and says, that's the darndest things.
And the Ukrainians have agreed to that proposal. They're ready for peace. And now we'll take that to the Russians and get their response. President may.
Now, initially, if you remember, Zelensky was like, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a peace deal. I don't want any of that stuff. So from Trump's point of view, I bent Zelensky into form in order to accept a ceasefire and to accept the mineral deal. Rubio follows up on Mike Waltz's comments with this.
We're going to tell them this is what's on the table. We're going to take the offer to them. We're going to tell them this is what's on the table. Ukraine is ready to stop shooting and start talking. And now it'll be up to them to say yes or no. I hope they're going to say yes. And if they do, then I think we made great progress. If they say no, then we'll unfortunately know what the impediment is to peace here. The best goodwill gesture the Russians can provide is to say yes to the offer that the Ukrainians have made to stop the shooting, to stop the fighting, and get to the table. If they do that, that's the best goodwill sign we could see. Obviously, as part of that negotiation, as we're talking about how to end this conflict, there will be a lot of issues to unravel. Among them, not the least of which is the humanitarian concerns, the children, the prisoners of war, all the things that sadly come with these conflicts. But the number one goodwill gesture we could see from the Russians is to see the Ukrainian offer and reciprocate it with a yes.
Just think, this man who cares about the babies, the kids. We need to stop this in order to protect the babies. Same guy, perfectly fine with murdering as many kids as possible in Israel. Rubio, that guy. The notion that he cares about the babies, cares about the kids, is nonsense. Rubio is perfectly fine with murdering every Palestinian child that's out there. So don't give me this nonsense about the kids. More kids have died in Israel over the course of the year than have died in Russia over the course of 3 years. So don't give me this nonsense about the kids. Rubio is posturing. Mike Waltz is posturing. They have no capacity, no capability of changing anything on the ground in Ukraine. And asking for a ceasefire is only there in order to potentially build up Ukraine once again so this nonsense can continue. Russia's not going to do that. There's no point in them doing that. The U.S. has no capacity to cajole, push, or motivate Russia to do any of this stuff. So what you're seeing here is posturing. No more, no less. Posturing. Men in suits saying things that don't ultimately matter. This is what's called a dead letter. Dead letter. The moment that the letter is created, the letter has been extinguished. Whatever is coming out of that letter ultimately doesn't matter. It is a dead letter. You had this event for ultimately no real good reason. That's not entirely true. The purpose for the event was to create a pressure campaign against the Russians, a pressure campaign that in no way has any capability of doing what the pressure campaign wants to do. Because in reality, Russia doesn't care. You've lost all political goodwill. You've lost the war on the ground. And the team that loses the war does not get to choose a ceasefire unless there's something that is offered to that side where they will be willing to do so. There is nothing offered to the Russians that would allow them or will make them want them or even care about this. Also, what seems to be happening is everybody has gotten on the same page. So Rubio comes out. Today was a good day for peace. Thanks to POTUS, the leadership, under the gracious hospitality of Crown Prince MBS, we're one step closer to restoring durable peace for Ukraine. The ball is now in Russia's court. You move to Emmanuel Macron, and you notice the ball is now in Russia's court. Kala Kalis, sexy as hell. Yes, my guy. The ball is in Russia's court. Ursula von der Leyen, not sexy as hell. The ball is in Russia's court. What do you notice about all of these world leaders and the things that these world leaders are saying? The ball is in Russia's court. So all of them are now, despite the break in the transatlantic relationship, all of them are now apparently on the same page. The ball is in Russia's court. Here's the rub. The ball was always in Russia's court. Because again, you have no capacity to do anything on the ground to change the context of events. And to make that even clearer, you've passed every economic sanction that you could come up with. You went after oil and gas. You've tried to isolate Russia. None of those things have worked. Meaning you've shot your load. You've done any and everything possible in your power to change the context of events in regards to Ukraine, and none of it has worked. And now you decide to have a negotiation with your proxy, with your ally that is out there fighting and dying, and come up with, let's have a ceasefire. This was a pointless endeavor. It was a pointless endeavor. If your objective was to get Ukraine on board for a ceasefire, congratulations, you did that. Your problem is that the Russian military is routing the Ukrainian military right now in Kursk. And within a few days, Kursk would be liberated. And after Kursk is liberated, those same Russian forces will keep going out of Kursk, creating a new offensive front into Ukraine and follow them, if indeed they can even go back. Because at this point, there's reporting that these people are surrounded, that thousands of Ukrainians are cut off from leadership or command in Ukraine and are stuck. And if not stuck, one pathway out that is under fire control. This would be a major psychological blow to Ukraine and to the Western world. And I hope to those idiot generals on CNN that thought this was fantastic, that they decided to use their best people to invade Kursk. And those best people were slaughtered. Dead letter meeting. Dead letter meeting. I am not going to jump to the conclusion that many people on social media are jumping to the conclusion. There's a lot of cynicism, realistic cynicism. And what I mean by that is, look, if we lived in a world where things worked, where people didn't suffer, where people didn't struggle, the point of view of people would be oriented to that world. And that cynicism wouldn't necessarily be a part of that world, because from their point of view, the events that's coming through their reality space will be informed, or their point of view will be informed by those events, and those events turning out well. We don't live in that world. We live in a world that doesn't work well, where people die, where life doesn't seem to matter all that much, and where politicians lie often. And so when Trump comes in and makes moves in a particular direction, people are surprised. They're surprised because they are informed by a certain amount of cynicism that they take from reality. It's a feedback mechanism. I'm going to be open-minded on this. And I'm going to take the position that this is an open salvo, that Trump ultimately probably does want a ceasefire. But what he needs to reconcile is that Russia has been lied to over and over and over again. When they said, hey, we're going to do the Minsk agreements, and then they're not attended to, what is the point of view that you get from that? When you go into the Istanbul agreements and you get the West telling Zelensky not to attend to those agreements, what is the point of view that you come away with? When you have all of these missile agreements and these things are washed away, what is the point of view that you come away with? When in 2014, a Ukraine that is supposed to be neutral is overthrown by the US government and used as a proxy in order to kill ethnic Russian Ukrainians in the Donbass region and build up a military on the border, with all of these talks about Ukraine being in NATO, a country that was supposed to be neutral, what is the point of view that you come away with? I'm making the point that you are not regarded as a truthful actor. And you're not regarded as a truthful actor for the things that you have done. That is not, cynicism unfounded by reality. That is cynicism founded by reality. So no, you're not going to get a ceasefire. No, any negotiation that takes place with the Russians will take place as the Russians continue their inexorable stride westward. They are going to kill, they're going to maim, and they're going to take territory up until the point where you come to an agreement to stop them from doing so. That agreement will not be a ceasefire. That agreement will be a lasting agreement that is effectively a new security architecture of Europe. That is all you get. If you do not want to do that, fair enough, then the Russians keep moving and the Ukrainian military will collapse. That is what's on the table. That is all that's what's on the table. As Trump pointed out, you have no chips. If Donald Trump wants to make an agreement that is larger than the Ukraine war, he can do that. In which case, the Ukraine war becomes one item on the table, not the item. If the Ukraine war is the item, then you have no chips. The US has no chips. Nobody has any of the chips other than the Russian military that's going to keep going. Unless you want the Russian military to kill and slaughter to the border of Poland, then you will make a deal. And I would wager to you that that is the last thing that Europe wants. I would even wager to you that is the last thing that the Russians want. Because all things being equal, there is a point in which they don't want to go further. In which case, a deal is on the table, but not like this. This. And these two goofballs will get you nowhere. This language will get you nowhere. It's either all or it's nothing. And the Russians are willing to accept nothing because you cannot stop them on the battlefield. That is your issue. That is your issue. So yes, I'm starting on this. And no, I'm not going to be hyperbolic in the way that I talk about it. I'm not going to be hyperbolic in my take on what I think Donald Trump is doing right now. A lot of people on social media are. There are a lot of screaming on social media that we've been betrayed, that Donald Trump has lied. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait and see. That is going to be my point of view. I'm going to wait and see. Paris is going to collapse. Give it a week. Give it a few days. The remaining pocket, the remaining few thousands of Ukrainians that have the unfortunate disposition to be in Russian territory, they're going to die, or they're going to leave under heavy fire, with many of them being killed on the way up. That is flat fact true. I cannot show you the videos because they will get rid of this video if I did. But they are all over social media of dead Ukrainians laying out in the forest, missing limbs and everything else. That would be a psychological blow. That would be a severe psychological blow. Why, under those terms, would Russia agree to a ceasefire? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? You and I are in a fight. I'm beating the shit out of you. And you say, hey, can we pause? Why would I pause? Why would I give you breathing room? Why would I give you time to get yourself together in order to fight me? Again, I'm going to win it. I'm going to finish it. You have no capacity to do anything about it. You can bitch, you can moan, you can beg for stop. That is within my disposition to make a choice on that, not yours, which is why this goes nowhere. I'll end it where I began. Dead letter. Dead letter. Complete dead letter.